The Lions are fired up and ready to go. They're here at home, Ford Field in Detroit. It's the Rams and Lions. Ron Pitts, John Lynch. There's Steve Spagnuolo, second year as Rams head coach. He says the keys of this game, be good in the trenches and score early, John.
Yeah, and his guys in the trenches have been outstanding the last couple weeks, and that allows them to highlight the likes of Steven Jackson at the running back position and their outstanding young quarterback, Sam Bradford.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the ball, there's a man that Terry Bradshaw talked to in the pregame show, Bradford. But Jim Schwartz, his second year as head coach as well, he also says score early. He wants to get off to a hot start, believes he's got to run the ball better to get his 0-4 Lions their first victory of the year.
Yeah, and we talked about the Lions being desperate. It's clear in this city. We understand you guys are new, you're making progress, a lot of new moving parts, but you better beat the Rams or people are going to start throwing up the, hey, what's going on around here?
The Lions have won the toss. Josh Brown, watch this, little onside kick. And the Lions recover, so right off the top, a little trickeration by the Rams, but the Lions will have good field position. That ball picked up in the middle of the formation there, Amari Spivey, the rookie third-round pick out of Iowa, and that's David Barbora, the backup linebacker who's injured on the play. Well, John, both teams talked about scoring early, and right off the top, you see the special teams trick.
Yeah, and what a great setup. You're the Detroit Lions. You want to score early. You've got tremendous field position. Now, for the St. Louis Rams, I promise you, when you do that to start a game, you've seen something on film. Obviously, the Lions made an adjustment and great field position to start off for the Detroit Lions.
John, do you agree with that decision to go for that onside?
Well, it's really easy to say after the fact no, but, you know, you remember when everyone was talking to Sean Payton in the Super Bowl, they liked that decision.
We'll step away and check on Barbora when we come back. Lions ball. With the recovery on the onside kick, we'll take over. Good field position, and already a second miscue here by the Rams. Let's check it. It might be Pettigrew. He may have gone off a little early. Today's referee, Bill Levy, will give us the first call. It's indeed against the Rams. The Rams defense has really helped the Rams offensive cause a lot because they have not allowed a score in the first quarter. They, along with the Jets, the only two teams in the NFL unscored upon in the first quarter. Bootleg. Drop in and out of the hands of the tight end Pettigrew, but a marker is down. You could hear it hit his chest.
Prior to the pass, holding, number 24 defense, 5-yard penalty, first down.
That's Ron Bartell, the corner.
Talk about this Rams defense. I mean, that's just phenomenal. 4 games in, you've yet to give up a point, but not off to a great start. Now, where they've been so good is third down in the red zone. We'll see how the Lions counteract that.
First and 10 after the penalty. This is Best. Best with a lane. Javid Best inside the 20-yard line, and another Lions first down. The Lions offensively, Sean Hill, he is 3-0 as a starter against the Rams. That goes all the way back to his days as a San Francisco 49er. Javid Best, pick number 30 overall out of Cal. He's been impressive, a little nicked up, but when he's healthy, he gives them a burst that they miss. The offensive line, they've been solid across the board. Backus going up against a former teammate in Hall. Going deep. And it's out of bounds. Intended for Nate Burleson. He's been nicked up as well. Couldn't hold on, couldn't pull it in inside of regulation.
If you watch this play, it's Javid Best in the slot. They're starting to use him as a decoy. They fake the little bubble screen to Javid, and it does do the job of drawing Ron Bartell, whose eyes are in the backfield. They've got a shot. Nice play design by the Detroit Lions early on.
And they've missed Burleson. He hurt his ankle week 2 against the Eagles. They've missed him at the wide receiving core. Caught. That's Pettigrew, and Pettigrew about a yard shy of the first down, pushed out of bounds by Dahl. The Rams on defense, the front four much improved. We talked about James Hall. He's a former Detroit Lion. Gibson won the starting job over Clifton Ryan this year. They have been impressive. Laurinaitis, he leads the team in tackles. He can find the ball. Atagwe and Dahl very hard hitting at the safety spot. Going up, and it's incomplete. Intended for Bryant Johnson.
Well, they're taking their shots at the end zone. Again, the theme of striking fast, and they're trying to announce that in a hurry. Now, this is where the Rams defense has really stiffened up this year thus far. In the red zone, second in the NFL. They've allowed their opponents no TDs in the last 5 trips down to the red zone. And again, on third down, they stand up. You may move the ball against these Rams, but it's tough to get the ball in the end zone.
30 yards out for Hansen. He hit 4 field goals in the loss last week to Green Bay. It's up, it's clean, no markers are down. So after recovering the onside kick, the Lions do what they want to, score first. Well, it took 5 weeks, but the Rams finally gave up points in the first quarter. And you're looking at Danny Crossman, the Lions special teams coach. Good job by his unit, John, on recovering the onside kick.
Absolutely. As I said, when you start a game like that, you've seen something. Tom McMahon, the special teams coach for the Rams, but great job by Danny Crossman and his special teams unit.
This will be Gilliard. Gilliard will take it at the goal line. Avoids a couple hits, gets it out to about the 23-yard line. Tackled by Spencer Havener. Let's go back to the onside kick.
And if you watch Josh Brown, the kicker for the Rams, he tries a little sneak attack on the Lions. And typically when you see this, they've studied on film that the Detroit Lions are retreating before the ball's kicked, but no retreat from Amari Spivey here. Heads up job, and he goes up, attacks the football. That turns into 3 points for the Detroit Lions.
Josh Brown now 1 of 10 in his career on onside attempts. This is Bradford, 1st and 10. He'll throw it, and that's complete for the guy that's been his money man, Mark Clayton. And Bradford has won 2 in a row, not acting like a rookie. He's taken control and given this team new life. And I love the story in the pregame show with Terry Bradshaw about the 3 peppermints he's got to have before the game.
That and the Honey Nut Cheerios, right?
Yeah, the Honey Nut Cheerios. Well, he said he threw the Honey Nut Cheerio one out because that was at Oklahoma, and that was starting to bloat him a little bit. 2nd and 4. Steven Jackson, and Jackson hemmed up early. Jackson moved into 2nd place all time last week on the Rams rush list. The Lions know they've got to attack him early. And Ndamukong Suh, he's the number 2 overall pick out of Nebraska. Very strong, very powerful, leads all NFL rookies in sacks with 3. Johnson subbing in for the injury to DeAndre Levy. And Delmas, a very hard hitter. Alfonso Smith subbing in at corner for Jonathan Wade. 3rd and 3. Incomplete. Let's go Los Angeles. The first game break of the day. Here's Kurt Menefee.
Well, with Jay Cutler out and Todd Collins starting at quarterback, the Bears get back to their running ways. Matt Forte, 18 yards on the score against Carolina. First rushing touchdown by the Bears since week 13 of last season. They lead at 7-0. Ron and John.
Thank you, Kurt. You see a little balance there in Chicago from Mike Martz. And I think that's really what these Detroit Lions need to get to, a little more balance on their offense. We'll see on this next series if they keep working towards a little more balance on the offense.
This will be Donnie Jones, 2nd in the NFL in punting. Stephon Logan waves a fair catch very early, secures the fair catch at the 34-yard line, 38 yards on the punt. Well, they say they're going to get their big man involved. There he is. Let's see if they do. Lions ball marked at about the 34-yard line. Give to Best. Best, who's been bothered by 2 bad toes. They call it turf toe. Had one on the left foot, then again on the right foot. That slowed him down. And here's a look at the play selection.
Now you look at that, 68% in the 68% pass. That's the highest in the NFL. And I think that's one thing Scott Linehan, the offensive coordinator, and the Detroit Lions need to accomplish. You've got a weapon in Calvin Johnson. You get a lot of 7 in the box. Safety's back protecting. The run is there. You just got 5 yards on first down. Take the run, draw him up, and then hit Calvin.
Quick look there at Scott Linehan, the offensive coordinator. A mix-up in the backfield as the Rams gather around. At least 4 Rams on that tackle. Hill went one way. Best went another. John, I got to go back to something on that onside kick. I'm still not sure why you give an 0-4 team a chance to get early points on you.
You know, you're right. And Steve Spagnuolo took an aggressive approach, and it burned him right there.
3rd and 5, Hill in trouble, and Hill goes down. That's George Selby, the 7th round pick out of South Florida. He'll move to 1.5 sacks on the year.
You watch the Rams the last couple of weeks. They've been very good in 3rd down and red zone. And what they've done, they've gone much more to a 4-man rush. And the 4-man rush has been productive. You see Selby, the rookie, getting a sack there. When you can rush for 4 with 4, it allows you to keep guys back in coverage. And it's really been critical to the success of this St. Louis Rams defense.
This is Nick Harris. A loss of 5 on the play. He'll punt it away to Amendola. Amendola with room. Needs a block, turns the corner. Amendola with a nice return out close to the 35-yard line. 25 yards by Amendola. 3-0 Lions. Rams ball. Ball spotted at the 37-yard line. Rookie Amari Spivey has got the starting call at strong safety for C.C. Brown, who's battling a bad thigh. Spivey has already made a splash. He recovered the onside kick, gave his team good field position. That led to 3 points. They bring down 8 in the box for Jackson, and that's why they do it. They hold them to a small gain. The Rams season in review looks like this. They have won the last 2, and everybody in St. Louis is on the high for a team that's 500. And Bradford, well, he continues to impress everyone. Very consistent, very solid. And John, this is what I like. It's really been about the defense, giving up an average of only 13 points a game.
Yeah, and that's been awesome. And we've talked about the critical areas that the St. Louis Rams defense is playing well in. 3rd down, red zone. And when you keep points off the board, that's winning football.
A pickup of 2 by Jackson. Play action. Bradford took a hit going deep, and it's incomplete. A marker goes down late. Vanden Bosch got the shot on Bradford. And that's Mark Clayton shaken up. Boy, that would be a huge loss. Clayton just brought in a trade from Baltimore September 6th.
Flag pass, illegal contact. Number 26, defense. 5-yard penalty and automatic first down.
That's going against Louis Delmas.
Gonna watch Clayton up top working against Alphonso Smith, and it's actually Alphonso Smith with the illegal contacts on him. Bill Levy messed up. It's Alphonso Smith, but a great job by the Rams being aggressive early, taking a shot, and it results in a penalty.
We'll check on Clayton when we come back.
Not the sight you'd like to see if you're a St. Louis Rams fan. Mark Clayton, who's just been an outstanding acquisition, playing with tremendous confidence,
Number 27
is down. They bring it out the stretcher. This guy has been an unbelievable acquisition. Remember, they went and got Mark Clayton when it was Donnie Avery, their speed threat that went down. And you're going to see the knee just kind of give out there. And anytime they bring the card, I don't want to speculate, but just not good. And Ronnie, I don't think you can overestimate how big Mark Clayton has been. Just a terrific acquisition. He's been explosive. He's been productive. 22 catches for 300 yards. He's been a real find, and this is a big blow to the St. Louis Rams offense.
And John, you touched on it. Donnie Avery, a guy that they expected to come around full force this season. He was hurt in the preseason along with Dominique Curry, their rookie this year, and they were already thin. And now this is just one major blow, and 2 players from Oklahoma. They worked out together in the offseason. Bradford would work out with Clayton, and Clayton would go back home in the offseason. While they're carting off Clayton, let's go back to Los Angeles for Curt Menefee and a quick game break.
And another touchdown run by the Bears. Matt Forte once again, 68 yards on this one. Forte halfway through the first quarter, 4 carries, 101 yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns. The Bears have a commanding lead already. 14-3 over the struggling Carolina offense. Ron and John.
The Bears trying to get healthy again after that beat down. And I mean that literally from the New York Giants. 1st and 10, Jackson. And Steven Jackson will be about 3 yards shy of the first down. He picks up 7.
And, you know, that's probably what you're going to do the play after you lose your #1 receiver in Mark Clayton. Give the ball to Steven Jackson. But it really presents a problem. Remember, this is a team without, in my mind, a true #1. Mark Clayton's been acting like a true #1. But now you lose the guy who is your team's #1, and it's going to have to fall on the shoulders of a young rookie, Marty Gilliard, and LaRon Robinson to really step up and try to fill the shoes of Mark Clayton.
Along with a Brandon Gibson. Jackson eluding 2 out of the backfield, gets a block, turns the corner, gets the first down. But this is a man, John, that has been bothered by a severe groin injury. Didn't know if he was going to play last week in that win against Seattle. He does, and he's out here again.
And you're going to see Kyle Vanden Bosch get some penetration in the backfield, but you aren't going to bring down Steven Jackson with arm tackles. And Steven Jackson, who really last week, one of the most courageous efforts I've seen. He was very doubtful going into that game, played outstanding, passed Marshall Faulk to become the 2nd all-time leading rusher for the Rams. Outstanding player.
He picks up 10 on the run. Lions guess the run, they get past, drop. In and out of the hands of tight end Darcy Johnson. And John, going back to Jackson, he said, quote, "I had to get on the field last week, if for nothing more, to let the opposing defensive coordinator think he's got to bring 8 in the box to stop me."
Well, I think that was really his thought process going in, because he was at about 70%. He said, I just wanted to be at least a chess piece to keep the defensive coordinator honest. Obviously, he was a lot more.
Play action on 2nd down. The quick one, that's outside to Gibson. And Gibson with a nice spin move. Gibson looking for the end zone. Takes it inside the 10-yard line. Ball comes out, but I believe he was already down. 30 yards on the play, and Delmas is shaken up.
Let's take a look at Brandon Gibson. Brandon Gibson's a guy who's been struggling catching the football. He's had 4 drops in the last 2 games, but he's a strong receiver. When you get the ball in his hands, he can make some things happen. Had a big touchdown last week. Great job by Brandon Gibson stepping up in Mark Clayton's absence.
Gibson brought in a trade last year with the Eagles. Traded midway through the season. But he has gone from a guy that was going to be a 3rd, 4th, maybe 5th, to now a guy who's going to get regular time in the offensive scheme. And Delmas got up. That's Vasher. He's down as well.
I talked to Louis Delmas out at practice the other day. He's been struggling with a groin injury himself. And you know, Ron, when I look at Louis Delmas, I think this guy is a key cog to this defense. He's an outstanding young player. I love his ability. He's instinctive. He's sudden. You know, my worry with him, he's a smaller guy who plays so hard. It reminds me of Bob Sanders. Can he stay healthy, playing as hard as he does? And he's not the biggest frame. And now he's off at Nathan Vasher in the same play. We're seeing injuries play a big part in this game early on both sides.
So the Rams into the red zone. They'll have a fresh set of downs. Jonathan Wade checks in at the corner spot. C.C. Brown checks in as well. First and goal pass. That's Amendola. Ball is loose. It's a loose ball picked up by the Lions. Now he loses it. Finally, Wade comes up with it. What a crazy play, but the Lions take over possession. Looked like Corey Williams ripped it out initially.
The defensive player was
And then
blocked
Alfonso
into the
Smith
legs of
had
the
it for a little
quarterback.
bit.
No
He
foul for
lost it.
roughing the
Wade
passer.
ended up with it. And you see the Lions, John, trying to run a play quickly.
Now that's outstanding hustle by Corey Williams. One thing defensive line coach, defensive coordinators always tell a D-line after they've thrown the ball, turn and run, and Corey Williams does exactly
St. Louis
that.
is challenging the ruling on the field of a fumble.
Puts
We'll
a
review
big
the
strip
play.
on the ball. Outstanding effort by Corey Williams.
Now the Rams have thrown the challenge flag. And they're, of course, challenging to see whether or not that was a fumble. We'll check on the challenge when we come back. We are in challenge mode. The Rams fumbled the ball. That was Danny Amendola. It was picked up twice by the Lions. Rule the fumble on the field.
Great hustle by Corey Williams. And let's watch Danny Amendola. Does this ball start coming loose before that right knee touches the ground? And I think the ball's moving right there. I think outstanding play by Corey Williams. And I think this play will stand as called on the field. And it will be the Detroit Lions football.
If it holds, as you look at Amendola there, it's part of a trend that the Lions have been on. 11 takeaways, that's tied for the most in the NFC with Chicago.
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field stands. It'll be Detroit's ball.
Make that number 12 now. So Amendola, who's generally solid with the football, John, he gives it up at a crucial part of the field, the red zone.
St. Louis will be charged with their first timeout.
And as you heard Bill Levy there, the Rams will lose a timeout. The toss, the best looking cutback. Couldn't quite get there. Nice discipline down the field on the backside by Babora, the linebacker who went out earlier on that onside kick with an injury. That's a pickup of 3.
Now early on we talked about balance. I'm seeing it from the Detroit Lions today. They're making an effort, and I believe that's what you've got to do. And you get those St. Louis safeties to start getting nosy towards the line of scrimmage. Now you open up Calvin Johnson to make the big plays down the field.
2nd and 7, gun formation. Plenty of time for Hill. He hits his crosser. That's the tight end, Pettigrew, but Pettigrew unable to get the first down. A nice open field tackle by the trailing James Laurinaitis.
And these tight ends, both Brandon Pettigrew and Tony Scheffler, who they acquired from Denver in a trade this year, have been incredibly productive. Pettigrew now with 23 catches on the season.
Lions on the ball quick, this 3rd and 3. Pressure backside, right in the face. That's a free interception, but dropped. Bartell had it. You'll never get an easier pick, but he couldn't hold on, and the pressure there by Chris Long.
You see Chris Long coming from the top and unblocked, and he puts a blow on Sean Hill. But Ron Bartell, who's a local kid from Detroit, you got to catch that for your hometown folks.
That's right, the Renaissance High School product here in Detroit. He'll think about that one until he gets another one. Nick Harris, standing at his 20, will punt it away. So Amendola wipes the sweat off his brow because his fumble does not turn into anything. Now he's trying to turn this punt into something. He gets it back upfield to about the 29-yard line. Well, Saturday, after a memorable first-round matchup, the National League's 2 best teams will take the field and go head-to-head in Game 1 of the NLCS as they each look to move one step closer to the World Series. Fox Sports exclusive coverage of the NLCS begins Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific in high definition only on Fox. A couple good games in the postseason, most notably Holiday and the no-hitter. He's thrown a no-hitter in the regular season and in the postseason now, and there's an injured Lion. That's Landon Johnson. Landon Johnson made that tackle on the punt return. He's shaken up but walking off under his own power.
And Ron, that's another critical injury. Remember, Landon Johnson is filling in for their starting middle linebacker, DeAndre Levy, who's been out with a groin injury. They're bringing in Spencer Havener, who they acquired from Green Bay earlier. Remember, we saw Spencer Havener playing tight end last year.
So Delmas checks back in at the free safety spot. Movement looked like Jacob Bell on that left side.
False start, number 76, offense. 5-yard penalty, first down.
They get Roger Saffold, the left tackle. For an update, let's go to Los Angeles. Here's Kurt Menefee.
Terrell Owens over 200 receiving yards last week, off to a good start today against Tampa. 43 yards on that touchdown reception from Carson Palmer. And the Bengals lead the Bucs 7-0 in the first quarter. Ron and John.
Well, they've got all the superstar power they need in Cincinnati. Talking about T.O. and Ocho. They're up early. First and long after the penalty, inside handoff. That's Kenneth Darby. Darby giving Jackson a break, and Darby comes up with a nice run.
Nice design of the play by offensive coordinator Pat Shurmur. Kenneth Darby, who's usually a halfback, they line him up at fullback. Anytime you're in that defensive huddle, you see something like that, you know something's up. Kenneth Darby doesn't normally align at fullback. Nice execution and design by Pat Shurmur and the St. Louis Rams offense.
John Greco checks in at right guard for Adam Goldberg. Quick throw, nice move there by Amendola. Amendola picks up the first down, but a nice job of avoiding in the open field. Finally tackled by Nathan Basher.
For those of you that are at home watching this game saying, hey, I thought Sam Bradford was a pocket passer. One thing we've learned quickly this year is he is outstanding outside of the pocket. In fact, he likes to be moved early in the game. He says it gets him in rhythm. You'll see a lot of bootlegs. He is very proficient at throwing on the run to the right side or to the left.
First and 10 give to Jackson. Jackson trying it inside, but the Honolulu blue jerseys are all over it.
And there's a bunch of those Honolulu blue jerseys. Jim Schwartz, the Lions head coach, told us it takes 11 men to stop Steven Jackson. You can't do it with one man. You got to get hats on the football, and that's exactly what you see right there. The Lions swarming to the football.
Ball nearing midfield. It brings up a 2nd and 9. There's that roll and mobility you talked about, John. Bradford in trouble. No place to go with the football. Pushed out of bounds at the 45-yard line. Cliff Averill pursuing on the play. A loss of 2. And they will consider that a sack, being that he lost yardage going out of bounds.
Now this is where it's going to hurt not having Mark Clayton. In addition to being their #1 receiver and a productive, explosive receiver down the field, he's got 7 third-down receptions, 6 for first down this year. Amendola is that guy, but Randy Gibson and LaRon Robinson, these guys have to step up as well.
3rd and 11. They bring pressure. It's complete. Amendola. And Amendola pushed out of bounds, but he's got the first down. Coverage on the play by Alfonso Smith.
Now, Ronnie, one of the things when I judge a quarterback in the National Football League, I think you have to look at some critical areas. First of all, the win-loss, 2-2. Second of all, the third down. We just saw a third down conversion, 21 passes, 22 now, tied for most in the NFL with Matt Ryan and Joe Flacco. And finally, the red zone. He's 3rd in the NFL, and look at the names he's associated with. Peyton Manning, Tom Brady. This guy's doing great things in the critical areas for quarterback play.
Take the toss. That's Amendola, the quick wide receiver screen. And Amendola hit hard, but he'll pick up some yards. That's Delmas coming down from the safety spot. He picks up 9. Well, you'll take that on 1st and 10 every single play.
Oh, absolutely. And that's something you're seeing become more prevalent throughout the NFL. everybody say, why are they throwing the ball just at the line of scrimmage? Well, Danny Amendola, we've seen him returning punch. You get your athletes the ball in space and let them go make yards. 9 yards, that's great production on first down.
Amendola picking up the slack with Mark Clayton. He's gone out of the game with what looked like a serious knee injury. 4 catches, 42 yards for Amendola. Jackson trying to turn the corner, lowers his shoulder. John, you may have touched on this already, but talking to Jim Schwartz, he said, you know, no matter where you tackle this guy, you're going to get a headache. You tackle him high, he's going to punish you. You tackle him low, you're going to get a kneecap in the forehead. There's no easy way out.
Well, I've been the recipient of some of those headaches from Steven Jackson, and you know, playing against him, now covering him again. I talk about each time we cover him how much respect I have for him, but he's just a hard-nosed football player who continued to play hard through some down times, and hopefully now for him and the Rams, he'll start to experience some of the fruits of that labor.
That's 1st and 10. Back to Jackson. He's got a huge hole. A nasty stiff arm. It's another Rams first down. He put that stiff arm right in the face of Amari Spivey. That's good for 12 yards. I mentioned earlier that last week he moved into 2nd place all-time on the Rams all-time rushing list. Now he sets his sights on Eric Dickerson.
And we talked to him the other day. He said this is a guy who respects history. He said to be sandwiched in between those two, that one's a Hall of Famer, one's a potential Hall of Famer, that's a testament to my hard work and my teammates.
Long drive, 8-play drive to give to Jackson. That's going nowhere, and they stop it early. No gain on the play, and something's got Cliff Averill hot.
One thing Jim Schwartz, the head coach of the Detroit Lions, said about Steven Jackson is sometimes you play a back that's big. Sometimes you play a back that's fast. Sometimes you play a back that's quick. Sometimes you play a back that's shifty. Sometimes you play a back that's a great receiver. He said with Steven Jackson, he's all of those things. And that's what makes him so tough to defend.
Full house backfield. Amendola motions out. The dump off to Darby. Darby is waxed. Julian Peterson and Ndamukong Suh. Suh loses the lid, but he was in the area. A big man with tremendous speed.
And that's not boos we're hearing here in Ford Field in Detroit. Those are Suhs.
Now remember, John, he came from the D tackle spot. Usually those big fellas can't get back into
that's bringing it. We're seeing great hustle from these D linemen, getting down the field and making plays for the Detroit Lions defense.
Porter running out. 3rd and 7. Inside throw, incomplete. No markers down. 1 second left in the quarter. That ball intended for Daniel Fells. Peterson with 2 good plays in a row. He's on the coverage.
We listen to the Lions talk about with the Rams in the red zone, it's bringing 4 or all-out pressure. There, the Detroit Lions bring all-out pressure on Sam Bradford and get off the field on 3rd down. Both defenses doing a very nice job in the red zone of preventing touchdowns.
Should be a chip shot, 28 yards out for Josh Brown. No markers. It is. End of the quarter. We're tied at 3. Fox NFL Sunday will continue after a word from your local Fox station. A look at Steven Jackson as we start the 2nd quarter. Ron Pitts, John Lynch, and John, you talked in the beginning of the game about the Lions now. Use your big play weapon. Get the big man, Calvin Johnson, down the field. Haven't quite seen that yet.
Well, from what I've seen from them, they need more balance, and then they got to find ways to get your best player the ball, and you got to find ways. You got a guy like Calvin Johnson. They talk about the production last week, six receptions for 86 yards at Green Bay. That's nice. This is a guy who should have 10 receptions a game, should have big yardage. Find a way to get him the football.
And a deep kick taken out by Stephon Logan. And look at this, Logan still going. 40 across the 50, the kicker to beat. He beat him. Touchdown Lions. 105 yards by Stefan Logan. The second-year man out of South Dakota, brought in this year on waivers from Pittsburgh, and he wakes this crowd up.
You want to know the difference in the game thus far at special teams. The Rams open the game with an onside kick, a failed onside kick. That turns into 3 points, and now Stefan Logan with a 105-yard kickoff return for a touchdown.
The extra point is clean, and just like that, the Lions end the tie. 105 yards. And as my partner said, special teams, the story thus far. It's good to know someone's background. In Pittsburgh last year, he set a club record for the most kickoff return yards in a season at 1,466. His 105-yard return here is the longest play in the NFL this year. Mardy Gilyard will try to answer. He gets tripped up, falls out at about the 27-yard line.
And you know who made that tackle? Stefan Logan. Go
that?
Return a kick, and then you want to play the toughest position in football. You go cover a kick at the R5. But let's watch that kickoff return. Stefan Logan, who Steve Spagnuolo said this week, this guy can kill you in special teams. And Darian Stewart, Bradley Fletcher, they have an opportunity to tackle him. But that's how you change the course of the game as a returner. And we've seen so many of them throughout the NFL this year. Outstanding job by the kickoff return team and Stefan Logan for the Detroit Lions.
So Logan gives the Lions a 7-point lead. Bootleg, Averill on the hoof. And give the credit of that play to Cliff Averill, intended for Brandon Gibson.
And as we talked in the open, this is exactly what the Detroit Lions game plan was. Let's get ahead of the Rams, and let's see. They had tremendous respect for Sam Bradford as a quarterback, but let's see if he can play from behind where they can't protect him, where they can't rely on the run. You can't rely on things that protect a young quarterback, and here they are. Now, if you're the Rams on the other side, you've just got to run your offense. You're down by 7 points.
They put it on the ground to Jackson. A lot of early action in this game, and really started with the onside kick to open the game, but just recently, in case you're just tuning in, Stefan Logan, 105-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. Longest play in the NFL this season.
And a critical injury for the St. Louis Rams. Mark Clayton, who has just been outstanding thus far this year, is out, and it looks like for the game.
Darby checks in at the running back spot, 3rd and 9. Movement early by the Lions defense. Bradford gets a peel back, no place to throw. That's going against Andre Fluellen with the Lions.
Offside. Defense. 5-yard penalty. Repeat 3rd down.
John, we had an interesting discussion about defensive linemen offsides. You said all those years of Warren Sapp and the sacks and everything, he was not a guy that would jump offside.
Yeah, and that's been a problem for the Detroit Lions. I understand a lot of people have a philosophy, if you're going to get to the quarterback, that you're going to have some offsides. That's hogwash to me. I played on some of the best defensive lines in football. One year we had 55 sacks, we had 2 offsides. It's possible to do both, and the Detroit Lions need to be more disciplined because it's killed them.
3rd and 4. In and out of the hands of Amendola. Pressure on the play by Vanden Bosch. That'll bring up 4th down.
You see Sam Bradford on a key 3rd and 4, and it's Kyle Vanden Bosch going against Roger Saffold. Goes with the inside move. Saffold's been excellent at the left tackle position as a rookie, but he's going up against a real good one in Kyle Vanden Bosch, the big free agent acquisition for the Detroit Lions.
John, you mentioned the penalties for the Lions. They are tied for the most in the NFL at 37, along with the Tennessee Titans. see if Logan can do it again. Takes that one about 4 yards up the field. Everyone's screaming for a flag. They won't get it. Findy Onabun with the tackle. 10-3, Lions.
Now, if you're the Detroit Lions, yes, you're up 10-3, and that's looking good, but that's inexcusable. This is your best player on the field. You've got to get him the football. Find a way, move him, get him the football. He's your best player.
They give to Best. Best with a seam and a great run on first down. He picks up about 9. And this is what my partner John Lynch is talking about. Let's go back to school.
When we take you back to school, this is pretty simple. Sometimes you just have to throw it up. Here's the famous no catch. Here's Calvin Johnson, a 43-inch vertical. This is NBA leaping ability. And there's the defensive player of the year along with some help. The guy goes and makes plays. Put it up, give him a chance to make plays, and he'll make them for you.
Movement marker.
False start, number 34, offense. 5-yard penalty, second down.
That's going against Kevin Smith. Smith, second game back after that devastating knee injury late in the season last year. He deems that he's about 90%, definitely not 100%. You don't see the same cut and explosion that you saw last year. Hill out to Felton, the fullback, and Felton is chopped down. Bradley Fletcher came up and hit him.
Now, Sean Hill went back to school with us. He was looking Calvin Johnson's way. But sometimes a guy like Calvin Johnson can be a tremendous decoy. But I don't know. That looks fairly good to me. But Sean Hill gets good, productive yards. My point is, when you go down to Houston and you have a receiver like Andre Johnson, they find a way to get him 10 catches a game. And 6 catches isn't enough for a guy like this. They've got to feature this guy because he is, in my mind, the most talented wide receiver in the National Football League.
Pickup of 7 as you saw the total yards there. First down on the previous play. That's another good catch. That's Nate Burleson. First down, Burleson, 13 yards, matching his number. He was out the last 2 games with that sore ankle. Comes up big here.
See Burleson coming across, and we talked about Sean Hill earlier. We talked about Sam Bradford's ability to throw on the run, but a beautiful job of squaring his shoulders and really throwing a nice, accurate ball to Nate Burleson by Sean Hill.
2 tight end set. Best stopping his feet, going backwards. Great play there by Fred Robbins, and Robbins has really been a great addition for this team.
He really has, and the great defensive tackles spend a lot of time in the opposing offense's backfield. And as you watch Fred Robbins, you're going to see great penetration, get in the backfield, make things happen, and that's exactly what he does.
And you saw Gary Gibson there as well. Robbins brought in as a free agent. Originally a 2nd-round pick by the Vikings. He was with head coach Steve Spagnuolo in New York for 6 years. Knew what he was getting, 2nd and 13. Hot across the middle. That's Burleson. Burleson rounded up quickly, though, by Jerome Murphy, the 3rd-round pick out of South Florida.
You mentioned Jerome Murphy. Jerome Murphy is subbing in for Justin King, who is active today. But the Detroit Lions felt, even with Justin King, that was a matchup in their favor. Burleson in the slot. Now, Jerome Murphy, a rookie out of South Florida, as you mentioned, coming in the football game, playing that slot. A lot of pressure in that slot in the National Football League.
3rd and 8 as you look at the 3rd down conversions today. Short throw underneath the Best. This is where he's best. He'll take the first down and then some. Finally pushed out of bounds by Atagwe. Dominic Raiola with a key block as Best picks up the first down and 22 yards.
Talking about Javid Best running the football, increasing their balance, but he's pretty good out of the backfield. There was a game earlier this year against Philadelphia when he went for 9 receptions for 154 yards, and I'd say the toe's looking good. He's been struggling with turf toe. He said it was better, and there's some evidence of it on that play.
Hill with plenty of time going deep. There's your guy. In and out of the hands of Calvin Johnson. Johnson screaming interference. Otagwe was in on the coverage.
Let's watch Calvin Johnson working the slot against Otagwe. That's a mismatch, but great job by Oshimago Otagwe of playing the football, not panicking. And Calvin Johnson will tell you, I think all day long, that's a football that he needs to catch, but good job. I think that sends a message. We're going to take this guy downfield, and the slot's a great place to isolate him. You can't get hands on a guy as well in the slot as a defense.
John, I think he saw your back at school or heard about it. Penalty flag, too much time.
Delay game.
Excuse me, Ron.
5-yard penalty, second down.
Go ahead, John.
Talking about a back to school. Oshimago went to my college, Stanford
right.
University. OJ really having an outstanding football season this year. He's back at full strength, back in the starting lineup, but really playing some solid, I think really Pro Bowl level football at the safety position.
Well, this is Stanford's year by all means. They win over USC last night. Partner John Lynch will be inducted into the Stanford Football Hall of Fame in a few weeks. Proud moment for all of us. 2nd and 15. Check down throw. That's the big tight end, Pettigrew, and Pettigrew will be about 2 yards shy of the first down. Pettigrew leading the team in the NFC tight ends and catches. Came into this game with 22. Picks up 12 there.
And talking to the Lions quarterback Sean Hill, one of the things he said about Brandon Pettigrew, he said, John, he is so big and long. It's such a great target because you can see him downfield. Sean mentioned too, despite his great numbers, he doesn't think his knee is back to 100%. He tore his ACL last year, but it's pretty good if he's playing this well, not 100%.
3rd down and 3. Rams try to bring pressure. It doesn't get there. That's Burleson. Burleson has the first and then some as he works inside the 15-yard line. Now for a Cleveland update, let's go to Los Angeles. Kurt Menefee.
Well, if you saw the pregame show, you know the Browns were Frank Caliendo's upset pick of the day to beat the Falcons. Peyton Hillis, nice one-handed catch for a 19-yard score, has them in front of Atlanta, 7-6. By the way, Ron and John, Hillis has scored a touchdown in every single game this year.
Everybody needs a Hillis, Kurt. Long play drive here. New set of downs. Fake the end around. Screen, nice looking call. That's Best. Best will go down about 3 yards shy of the first.
Great execution by Scott Linehan. You got a guy who just returned a kickoff for 105 yards in Stephon Logan. You think they're going to be tracking him? Absolutely. They go to Stephon Logan's side. It opens it up for Javad Best, and you get great production on first down. Nice design.
A pickup of 8. Best leads NFL rookies in total yards from scrimmage coming into today's game. Very dangerous when he gets the ball. 2nd and 4 run outside. Not quite to the marker. They're going to mark him about a yard shy of the first down. You saw Burleson trying to throw a block out there, then jumped out of the way at the last minute. A pickup of 3.
The Lions going with the no huddle. This is an area where the Rams defense has been outstanding.
The old flip play, the flip 90. Can Best get outside? He does, but chopped down just shy of the goal line. But the good news for the Lions, he'll get the first down.
Jim Schwartz, and talking about Javad Best, said we need a guy that can make people miss. That's why they went out and drafted Javad Best. And that's exactly what he does. He makes 2 miss right there. Big 3rd down conversion for the Detroit Lions.
This is the part of the field where they might throw it up to Calvin. There it is, and he's got it. Fletcher on the coverage, John. You saw that play in practice, and they went right to it.
Well, Sean Hill, he gets an A+ at my school because you throw the football up and let your big man make a play. Sean Hill's aware of that, and it pays off with a touchdown for the Detroit Lions.
4th touchdown of the season for Calvin Johnson, and a long drive by the Lions. 13 plays, 81 yards. Exclamation point, Jason Hanson. And the Lions are starting to pour it on. 17-3 here in the second quarter. .609 here in the second quarter. And Sean Hill on that drive was unconscious. 13 plays. Hill 8 of 9 for 78 yards, capped off by the Johnson 1-yard touchdown catch. That ball tipped coming out. Corey Williams got a hand on it.
See Steve Spagnuolo earlier talking to Bill Levy, the referee. I think Steve Spagnuolo is talking to him about the quick tempo of the Detroit Lions. And I think Bill Levy's doing a great job of holding the Detroit Lions offense, giving them time to set up. But here's the touchdown. You can have Bradley Fletcher, you can have Deion Sanders. It doesn't matter. You throw the ball up to Calvin Johnson, that's a mismatch. Great job of the Lions exploiting that mismatch.
2nd and 10, Jackson. Jackson drives forward for a couple. Before that run, John, this is a stat that's going to blow your socks off. The St. Louis Rams, this quarter, 1 yard of total offense. The Lions, 91.
That's domination. It was all on that last drive. But you talk about that run, I think that's exactly what the Rams have to do. You're only 2 scores out. Don't deviate from your game plans. Keep going to Steven Jackson. Grind your way back in this football game.
John, you mentioned it during the break. Uncharted territory for the Rams.
It is, and we'll see how they respond. This young quarterback's got a lot of poise.
And that shows the poise right there. That's a textbook rollout. Looks for his man Amendola to clear. And they move the chains, make it look easy. But this was the MO on this kid coming out of college. Yeah, he had the arm issues, hurt the shoulder twice his senior year, didn't finish his senior year. But the one thing that the scouts all agreed upon, he had a lot of poise, did not get rattled in the pocket under pressure.
And there he demonstrates it in an excellent fashion, converting on 3rd and 8, which is very difficult in this league, something he's been very proficient at.
That one was good for 9. Here comes Vanden Bosch, the throw outside. It's wide open to Gilliard. Gilliard gets calf rope, but gets across the 50, and a late marker comes down. Might be on Spencer Hayner.
Personal foul, face mask, number 41 defense, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
That's good for 17 yards. Well, Fox tonight on an all-new Family Guy. Peter catches his father-in-law doing the unthinkable, and poor old dad gets kicked out of the house. Now, with the old man's life changed forever, there's only one man who could help him survive the single scene. Don't miss an all-new Family Guy tonight at 9, 8 Central, right on here on Fox. That sounds like a crazy one.
Yeah, that's funny.
First and 10. Jackson, he gets out of the hole. Down close to the marker, rounded up by C.C. Brown. He almost broke it.
I mentioned earlier, I think an outstanding job by the offensive coordinator, Pat Shurmur. Stick to your game plan. You're 2 scores down. Don't deviate. You've got an incredible front 4 for the Detroit Lions that can really get after your passer. You got to stay balanced. They're doing a nice job of it on this drive, moving the football for the St. Louis Rams. It's Pat Shurmur right here.
Second down and 1. Jackson looked for the cutback. It wasn't there. May have gotten a couple out of it.
It wasn't there, but he was going to carry them for the first down. That's exactly what he did.
Pickup of 3. The last 2 weeks, back-to-back wins for the Rams. 2 weeks ago, they got the first win of the season, going up against the Redskins, their first win in 11 months. Then last week, another big win at home, convincingly, over the Seahawks, 20-3. Ryan showing blitz. Looks like they went early. They did.
Encroachment, number 99 defense. 5-yard penalty, still first down.
And there's that lack of discipline. Yes, you have an aggressive front four, but I am ticked off if I'm defensive coordinator Gunther Cunningham right there. The ball's right in front of you. Watch the football. Get off the football. These penalties kill a defense, kill a football team.
You saw the penalty count there. We mentioned earlier, Lions tied with Tennessee for most penalties in the NFL. 1st and 5 handoff. Jackson, look at the way Jackson plugs his way inside. Bad groin and all, he'll be about a yard shy of the first. Pick up a 4.
You know, Ronnie, prior to the penalty, you mentioned the fact that Detroit was showing pressure. I think it's a lot easier for them to do that when you have Mark Clayton, your best receiver for the Rams, on the sidelines. You aren't afraid to challenge these receivers, and we'll see how that plays out through the course of this game.
2nd and 1. Jackson avoids in the backfield, but won't get away from the posse. Followed along with Brown and 2 others. Hold him back. That's a loss of 3. And we're at the 2-minute warning. 17-3 Lions. Look at the red zone offense today for the Rams on a 3rd and 4. Incomplete, intended for Amendola, and there comes the flag. Alphonso Smith on the coverage. And this is going to go against the Lions.
Pass interference, number 27 defense. First down, spot of the foul.
Circled Danny Amendola there prior to the play because he is their 3rd down weapon. 8 third down receptions coming into the game, number 4 in the league. That's what he does for this team. That's where he's valuable, particularly with Mark Clayton out now. That's where they're going to go on 3rd down, and it pays off in the form of a penalty for a first down.
7th penalty of the day going against the Lions. Rams with 2 timeouts. That one outside, complete to Amendola. Picks up only 2, gets out of bounds.
Remember earlier, a big difference in this game. Danny Amendola coughing up a nice reception down in the Detroit Lions red zone. Turnovers continue to be a key for the Detroit Lions defense, and uncharacteristically for Danny Amendola, fumbling the football.
Rams looking at a 2nd and 8. Knocked away, nice play. Dropping in the coverage is Julian Peterson. Intended for Daniel Fells, the tight end. 3rd down coming up.
Well, Julian Peterson's a guy who has played at a high level in this league for a long time. You look at him in coverage, his athletic ability is one of his greatest strengths. He's had his struggles this year. Maybe should have had a pick right there.
I was going to say, John, he's going to wish that he went ahead and picked that ball off. Given some time on the roll, nearly intercepted. Probably should have been a 2nd interception. That's Chris Houston. But it brings up 4th down and field goal opportunity for the Rams.
Well, it's the Rams defense we've been talking about being so stingy in the red zone. It's a little role reversal today. It's the Detroit Lions who are not allowing the St. Louis Rams into the end zone on a couple visits down to the red zone. They're going to move Sam Bradford as they sense pressure, and it's Chris Houston who gets his hands on the football, breaks it up. Very good job by the Detroit Lions keeping the Rams out of the end zone.
He's already good from 28 today. 28 again. So at least the Rams come away with points. They'll take the 3 and stay in the game. But John, definitely maybe not the type of game they envisioned in here. You come into this stadium and you're playing a team that is 0-4, talking about the Detroit Lions, and the first thing you do to them is try an onside kick. I'm not sure that I subscribe to that point of view, but you give a team like that a chance.
Well, you gave them a chance, and they were very clear. They needed to start fast. That's exactly what they did. You feel the energy in this building. Now you put Sam Bradford and the Rams in uncharted territory where they haven't been all year, playing from behind. The Rams do a nice job of driving down, but again, the Lions defense doing a great job in the red zone, keeping the Rams out of the end zone.
And Stephon Logan, who could have thought Stephon Logan would come up here with a 105-yard kickoff return to add insult to the injury special teams wise against the Rams.
Yeah, and you know, you got a desperate football team in the Detroit Lions. They're playing like it. They're playing like a team that desperately needs a win. And I continue that if I'm the Lions right now. I'm not happy going to half with 17-6. I'm trying to pour it on right now and even separate this game by more, trying to get a touchdown or at least a field goal before the half.
And do they kick to Logan? Well, he's 8 yards deep. I'm surprised he didn't take it out. He took the last kickoff return back 105 yards. Well, coming up, it's the Visa halftime report. Kurt, Terry, Howie, Michael, and Jimmy will have the scores and highlights from around the league, plus a Fox Sports ticker with the up to the second scores and stats. That's coming your way about 1:37. The Lions looking at 3 timeouts in their pocket. And 1:37 on the clock. Kevin Smith will start things out in the backfield. Fake the draw, throw it outside. I believe that's the first catch of the day for Tony Scheffler. It is. It's good enough for a first down.
You're seeing Sean Hill right now, 10 for 14 on the football game. This is a guy who can get hot as a starter in this league. Earlier this year in a defeat at Minnesota, went 21 of 26 at Minnesota, 80%. He's a very streaky quarterback, and he's in rhythm right now.
Took over for Matthew Stafford after Stafford was injured in the opener against the Bears. Boy, Johnson wasn't ready. That ball hit him right in the back.
Little husband and wife there, a little lack of communication.
Little Family Guy is what you're saying,
Yeah.
huh?
Sean's looking for Calvin right now, and Calvin's trying to drive across the field.
Second and 10. They bring pressure from outside. Wide open again is Scheffler. So Scheffler, who suffered a concussion last week against Green Bay, 2 catches, moves the chains. That one good for 15 yards.
We talked about Pettigrew earlier, but you combine the 2 tight ends, Pettigrew and Scheffler. This is the most productive tight end unit in the NFL. A lot of that is because all the attention that goes to Calvin Johnson really opens up the middle of that field for the tight ends to work.
This is getting ridiculous. They might want to think of putting a spy on Scheffler. That's 3 in a row for Scheffler. Didn't have a catch throughout the first quarter, most of the second quarter, all of the second quarter, in fact. And on this drive, he gets his 3. That's 5 yards. Ball at midfield.
Look at the Lions still with their 3 timeouts. Plenty of time to go down and try to get the ball in the end zone, at least a field goal.
You see Otagwe down in the box there in the lower part of your screen, the safety. Now he goes back. Johnson secures the catch, takes the hit, but it's another Lions first down. Otagwe came over and hit him But he already had the ball. That's good for 16.
Watch Calvin Johnson right there working against Ron Bartel. A little cover two. There's a little seam in there, and Shaun Hill does a great job of throwing on time. That's one of the things that Calvin Johnson told us about Shaun Hill. His anticipation is phenomenal, and right there, great anticipation by Shaun Hill and Calvin Johnson.
And John, 3 timeouts in their pocket. They've been able to move down the field and not have to really move the clock. They'll move it here as they put it on the ground. That's Kevin Smith. And Smith with a nice run. And you can see Jim Schwartz calls timeout, but he'll be about a yard or two shy of the first down.
That's their first charge timeout, 30-second
Their first charge timeout, 45 seconds left.
Talk about the last drive. We talked about Shaun Hill getting in rhythm. Here's an example of some of that rhythm. Throwing in the pocket, throwing on the run, to the left, to the right. Hitting backs, hitting tight ends, and then you've got to go to the big man, Calvin Johnson, and he does just that for a touchdown.
John, you may have touched on this early. Did you sense a frustration from Calvin Johnson talking to him at practice the other day?
Really for the first time. You know, I've known Calvin for a while, played against him, and last year visited him as we broadcasted the game. I did sense a mounting frustration. He's such a class act, he's not going to express it. But just with his body language, you know, I think that's because he knows how good he is, and yes, he wants his team to win, but he thinks he's the answer. He's at least a huge part of the solution is getting him the football, and I agree.
2nd and 2. Man-to-man coverage going to Johnson. Yes, touchdown Lions. "34 yards, classic Calvin Johnson form." And it's exactly what my partner John Lynch talked about. Throw the ball up to the big man.
Let's watch these feet. Right one down.
The previous play is under review.
Guess what?
He
didn't get it down.
He's out of bounds. Remember, there's no force out in the NFL. Up till a couple years ago, you couldn't force the player out. They would go to where his feet would have landed, and a great job by the defensive backs for the St. Louis Rams of forcing Calvin Johnson out. But again, an impressive job by Shaun Hill putting the ball downfield. Ron Bartel's hand in there. Right foot down, left foot never gets down.
You can't get that left foot down. Remember, we're under 2 minutes, so this review is coming from the booth.
And it's really an easy one. You know, but again, outstanding job. You know, we had our back to school segment earlier. Shaun Hill, he's going straight to our honor roll because he's getting the message. Throw the ball up to your big man, let him make plays, and he'll do it for you.
Okay, now John, if they go with the call that we think they're going to go with, which is no catch, what do you do here coming up? On a 3rd and 2, do you take another shot?
Well, you remember,
or do you try to get the first?
You still have your 2 timeouts.
Right.
I think the important thing is get your first down, and then you're getting closer. Even if they come back, you're getting closer to field goal range. You want points on the board, and maybe take another shot at the end zone.
Yeah. Boy, this brings back shades of week 1 against Chicago. Remember this? 31 seconds left, 4th quarter. The apparent catch, but at the end, he did not complete the process of catching the football. It was reviewed, it was contested, it was talked about for weeks. But the rule, as we know it, John, it was not a catch. Calvin's had some rough luck this year as far as that catching the ball in the end zone is concerned.
Yes, he has, and that was a devastating no catch at Chicago. Obviously, a silly rule, really, in my mind. I mean, he clearly demonstrated control. That is the rule. The referees got it right, and I'm sure there's a lot of reasons as to why the rule's that way, but not one that I understand, and I think a lot of people here in Detroit, as we're looking at them in the stands here, they don't quite understand that rule as well. But this one's clear as day. 1 foot down. That's a touchdown.
After the play, the receiver did not get his 2nd foot down in bounds. It's an incomplete pass. It'll be 3rd down and 2 on the 27-yard line.
It's a touchdown
With the
for
clock
Calvin.
operator put 41 seconds on the game clock. 41.
Excuse me, Bill Levy. That's a touchdown for Calvin at Georgia Tech, but not for the Detroit Lions.
Thank you.
And you can tell, boy, he wanted it so bad. You get the feeling, talking to him, that he just wants to get back on track.
And I would too. If I were 6'5" and 230 and at a 43-inch vertical leap, I want the ball. The Detroit Lions would be wise to keep throwing it to him.
3rd and 2. Rams might be wise to give him some help over there. Going at it again. They get the penalty flag. Bartell on the coverage.
Prior to the pass, illegal contact. Number 24 of the defense. 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
See Ron Bartell working on Calvin Johnson. And I'm going to hold him too. I'm going to hold him. I'm going to bump him. I'm going to do anything. It looks like a lot of no contact there, but the rule is after 5 yards, you can't have your hands on him. But that's part of the point too. It isn't always going to result in a touchdown, but good things are going to happen when you throw the football. It may be a catch. It may be a penalty. Very seldom is it going to be an interception for the other team. There's really not a whole lot of risk in throwing it up to him.
Hill in trouble. He's committed. Gets pushed out of bounds around the 20-yard line. You know, Hill, before that play, he had been pretty darn solid. 12 of 15, 124 yards and a touchdown. Kind of reminds you maybe of last week, John, the 40-yard run.
Now this was funny, and Sean Hill's teammates gave it to him. You talk about uncharted territory. I don't think he's ever seen this much open field. Head on a swivel, looking for someone. Please tackle me. And then they said they really gave him a hard time about that finish. 40-yard scramble for Sean Hill.
2nd and 9 up the seam. Incomplete. Ball intended for Tony Scheffler. Knocked away James Butler on the coverage.
And I like the idea by Sean Hill and Scott Linehan, the offensive coordinator, because there's been an incredible amount of production by the Lions tight ends, but not a whole lot in the red zone. You've got those kind of weapons. Calvin's going to get the attention. There's a spot you go to those big tight ends and let them score touchdowns.
26 seconds left. 2 timeouts for the Lions. Johnson at the bottom of your screen. Inside. That's Smith. Smith about 3 yards shy of the goal line. And a timeout called by the Lions.
That's their 2nd charge timeout. 30-second timeout.
But that'll be a first down.
Really good execution by the Detroit Lions on this drive. Really managing the clock well, getting the ball downfield, not panicking. Understand you have the 2 timeouts. Good production on the play to Kevin Smith. You get that timeout. Now you're in pretty position to not only put points on the board, put a touchdown on the board. 21 seconds with 1 timeout remaining.
Sean Hill, he's beat up on the Rams in his career. 3-0 versus the Rams. 2008. Beat the Rams 35-16 at home. Then 16-17. Did it again in 2009. All of that coming as a player with the San Francisco 49ers.
There's Calvin Johnson in the slot.
Pump fake. Even too high for Pettigrew at 6'5". Second and goal.
Talk about Sean Hill gaining rhythm early in the game. Not so much rhythm. 2 for 5, 11 yards. Since then, I talked about him being streaky. 13 for 18, 141 yards and a touchdown, playing in outstanding rhythm.
Wow, look at the time. Touchdown Lions. No markers. Pettigrew. John, I don't know about you, but it looked like there was some confusion. You could hear it from the Rams defense.
Well, you know what they did? They checked to a cover 2, and that means they were going to bring 4. But you mentioned at the time that Sean Hill had, you've got to credit this Detroit Lions offensive line for giving to him as much time as he needed to eventually find Brandon Pettigrew for a touchdown.
Pettigrew's first touchdown of the season. Hansen, he's automatic. He tacks on another one. So the 0-4 Lions look to be well on their way to getting their first win of the season. 24-6 with 10 seconds to play here in the first half. John, the Lions have lost 10 straight against NFC West opponents. Their last win versus an NFC West opponent was November 13th of 05 against the Arizona Cardinals. They beat them 29-21. But this is something we talked about in our open. To a man, this team is not panicked. They have not shown the signs of panic. They don't look frustrated when you talk to them and watch the way they practice. They said, hey, we just need a win and everything will be all right.
Yeah, and I credit them for that. Now listen, there's no reason this team should be 0-4 with the talent you have, the weapons we've seen on offense, the front four you have on defense. I mean, they've got to take accountability for that, but they've clearly changed their ways here today. Great job by Jim Schwartz getting his team together, and they're firing on all cylinders. But this thing's far from over. I mean, we're sitting here at 24-6. You still have a half of football to be played. A lot can happen, particularly with Sam Bradford at the quarterback position.
Ball kicked short. Rams recover it. Larry Grant, linebacker, he recovers.
Heads up play by Larry Grant,
Yeah.
because you talk about field position. Again, you look at the Fox box, 2 timeouts for the St. Louis Rams. You get the ball downfield a little bit. You put Josh Brown in field goal position. Remember Josh Brown, outstanding from 50 yards plus, one of the most accurate kickers in the league from that distance.
But John, I think the Rams are going to go in at halftime and say another thing that's disturbing is the play drives that the Lions have been able to put together. That last drive, 12 plays, 80 yards, they did it in 1 minute 27 seconds. Didn't have to go into the timeout bank to get down the field.
Timeout Detroit. That's their third and final charge timeout. 30
Now,
seconds.
as I say that, they burned their last timeout. But 8 seconds left for Bradford to work. And this thing started off with the onside kick. The Rams choosing to try to surprise the Lions, and it backfired.
Gutsy call, probably not the way to go. Mark Clayton goes down with an injury. It's not a good situation for the St. Louis Rams. Stephon Logan goes 105 yards for a touchdown.
Making it the longest play in the NFL this year, and then finally, after frustration, Calvin with the touchdown. And then they get Pettigrew with plenty of time to throw the football.
All day long.
8 seconds left. That's complete to Fells. Fells, look at Fells. And the clock has expired. It looked good, but while he was juking and dancing.
That is the end of the first half.
That was the end of it. That's the end of the first half. The Lions 24, the Rams 6. Fox NFL Sunday will continue with the Visa halftime report after these messages and a word from your local Fox station.
Hill in here in the event that Matthew Stafford did get hurt. Sure enough, he has, and Sean Hill's paying dividends.
This will be Marty Gilliard at the goal line. Gilliard runs into a wall at the 20. So the Rams will restart it here, down 24-6. Didn't see much of Steven Jackson there in that last half, or I should say that last part of the drive there, their last drive, because a lot of it was throwing, a lot of it was 2 minute, but you're going to see him here.
I think you've got to be careful if you're the Rams. Yes, it's a 3-score game, but again, don't deviate from your offense. Continue to have balance. Put scores on the board. As you put scores on the game, then you can attack later and go to that 2-minute up-tempo offense.
High formation give and a loss, first play of the game. And Ndamukong Suh is there along with Corey Williams, the 2 D tackles. That's a loss of 4.
Corey Williams, who has a couple offsides already. Let's watch him. He's clearly got a key on their snap count. He's going to get off extremely quick. Corey Williams, we saw him get burned twice for getting off too quickly in the first half. But right there, he gets in the Rams backfield and wreaks havoc.
Second and 14 screen. That one lost. Williams again. Williams brought in a trade from Cleveland this year. He has been all over the field.
He really has. He's been outstanding other than the penalties. And I'm sure if Gunther Cunningham, if you were in his meetings this week, he said you've got to be cognizant of the screen passes. The Rams absolutely killed Seattle last week with the screen passes. But that's just great hustle and instincts from Corey Williams and the Detroit Lions defense.
Adam Goldberg subbing back and forth with Greco at the right guard spot. That was a loss of 6. 3rd and 20. Draw, trying to get some of that lost yardage back. Not much. Great play there by Spencer Havner, second-year man out of UCLA, on Kenneth Darby. That brings on the punt team for the Rams.
Spencer Havner, the third team inside linebacker, Mike linebacker for the Detroit Lions. DeAndre Levy inactive today with a hurt groin, and Landon Johnson went down earlier today. Spencer Havner playing well in place of Landon Johnson.
Stephon Logan back deep to receive the punt. He's already taken a kick return back 105 yards, longest play in the NFL. There's his wall. Another outstanding return for Logan. He pushes this one up to the Rams' 40-yard line. 43 yards on the punt, 17 yards on the return. More Calvin Johnson? We'll see. 1st and 10 for the Lions. Ball spotted at the 41-yard line. Hill doing that running thing again, John.
We're going to start mentioning Sean Hill in the same sentence with Michael Vick here, all the running he's been doing.
There's a look at Matthew Stafford. Stafford out since the opener, midway through the opener against Chicago. They diagnosed it as a separated shoulder. He has consulted with the world-renowned Dr. James Andrews down in Mobile, Alabama. Dr. Andrews said no surgery needed, but he will need time. They're thinking at least another week or two. Back to the ground game, an easy first down for Javid Best.
You know, and I think all cylinders these Detroit Lions are hitting on. Coming into this game, I made the point that they've got to find more balance. They've been able to achieve that by the way of Javid Best. Javid Best now, he's healthy this week, and it's showing on the field. But running the football, that's opening up the pass downfield to the likes of Calvin Johnson and Nate Burleson.
But this guy here, John, has just been, I don't want to say flawless, but darn near very solid. To give to Best as a player loses a helmet. That's Jamel Cujo. I don't know if he knows where his helmet is. 2 helmets fly off for the Rams. That's the kind of day it's been, John. That's CJIU. He loses his lid as well.
And that's something for a league that's concerned, again, I go back to it, for a league concerned with concussions. I've seen more helmets flying off players this year than ever before.
I wonder why that is.
I don't know. Better change it.
A loss of 1 on the play. 2nd and 11. Fake draw. Quick wide receiver throw. That's Burleson. Burleson looking for the end zone. Touchdown.
Detroit Lions told us coming in that they love the matchup. Nate Burleson in the slot. Here he's on safety, James Butler, and safety Craig Dahl. And that's
After
something.
the touchdown was scored, unsportsmanlike conduct, number 13 of the offense, kicking the ball into the stands. 15-yard penalty being forced on the kickoff.
So the unsportsmanlike foul on Nate Burleson, but that's something, Ron, we haven't seen from the Rams all year. Shoddy tackling in the open field. They've been getting people down and then fighting, being stingy in the red zone. This is not the Rams defense that we've seen throughout this year.
Burleson just coming in as a free agent from Seattle, signing a 5-year, $25 million deal as Hansen puts the extra point through. He got a little jiggy with the football early. Then they pop him for punting it in the end zone. Bottom line, though, 31-6 Lions. They cleaned house out in Seattle. Burleson came here, and I know he was frustrated early on with the injury to the ankle, but he got it going pretty well in that play. Thought he celebrated a little early.
Yeah, he did, and that's dangerous. But Sean Jefferson, their wide receiver coach, said Nate does the nasty stuff, the underneath stuff for us. And Sean Hill told us this guy is so elusive with the football. Big addition for the Detroit Lions.
This will be Keith Toston. He will take it at the 20. Pours it up inside, goes down at about the 38-yard line. A marker. Is there a marker? No, we're good. Rams offense coming up. So Havener was able to walk off the field under his own power. That's always positive. This is a 2nd down and 7. Vanden Bosch thought he saw something.
Unabated to the quarterback, number 93 defense. 5-yard penalty, 2nd down.
Kyle Vanden Bosch, one heck of a football player, but sometimes after a win, and we'll see where this game goes, it's the best opportunity to really jump on your guys about discipline issues like that. Even up 31-6, you can't tolerate it. Those are little things that when you have a tight game are going to be the difference between winning or losing.
He had 3 offsides penalties versus Green Bay last week. 2nd and 2. Bradford around the corner. Looks like he came up short of the 1st down. It's going to be a hold probably on the left tackle. Working on Vanden Bosch.
Holding, number 76 offense. 10-yard penalty, repeat 2nd down.
That's Roger Saffold working against Kyle Vanden Bosch. They had a lot of holds going on here. The right tackle, Jason Smith, had one as well, but when you restrict, grab and restrict around the neck like Saffold did, they're going to catch that every time.
See the penalty yardage on the day. Lions back up into high penalty territory once again. They give to Jackson. Jackson twirled around, couldn't quite get outside. That's Sammy Hill. And that's a pickup of 2. Sammy Hill, 4th round pick last year out of Stillman College. Coming up with a nice play there.
Steven Jackson, competitive guy, not happy at all with this team's effort today. He's very frustrated talking to his running back coach, Sylvester Croom.
Third and 10, almost intercepted.
You know, and Steven Jackson has every right to be frustrated. You know, if you're thinking, if you're Steven Jackson, hey, I put my health on the line last week because I thought the game was so important. He knew going forward that was one win. They had 2 nice wins, but you got to move forward as a team, and to come out and play like you have today, not acceptable. And Steven Jackson understands that better than anyone. And when more guys have an attitude like that, that's when you really turn around a program.
That last ball intended for Marty Gilliard. A little high. A timeout taken by the Rams. He talks things over with Coach Spagnuolo and Richard Curl. When you're down 31-6, you got to go for it on 4th. They're 4 of 6 4th down conversions this year. Hit as he throws the ball, and it's incomplete. Cliff Averill came from the backside and just got a hand on it, and it's a turnover on downs.
If you're the Detroit Lions, you went out and acquired a Vanden Bosch, a Sue, a Corey Williams, and this is exactly why. Watch Sue working on the left tackle. Hands to the face, but Cliff Averill, who's been here, the guy who gets to Bradford. You just look at the future with this front 4, and again, I point to General Manager Martin Mayhew, an outstanding job of understanding you better be strong up front. As you see in Ndamukong Suh, you better be strong up front as a priority, and they certainly are in Detroit.
Lions to the ground game. That'll be Best. Tackled by Laurinaitis. A pickup of 5. John, before the game, I had an interesting talk with William Clay Ford Jr., of course, the Lions vice president, vice chairman, and he said that I love the way we've brought in new talent here. We've brought in some people that we now know can play. Now it's a matter of getting the guys together, getting that continuity so we can go to that next level.
Translation from an owner, I spent the money, go make it happen on the field.
That's exactly right.
And they've done that.
And look at Best, he's doing it, just tripped up. Best all the way down to the Rams' 35-yard line, but a marker is down back upfield.
Holding, number 76, the offense, 10-yard penalty, repeat second down.
That's Jeff Backus, the former Michigan Wolverine, wipes out the 18-yard run.
Look at Jeff Backus going against the young rookie Eugene Sims, and he gets a handful, and they catch that. But a good sign for the Lions, starting to run the ball effectively, and you see how explosive Javid Best is. I mean, this guy has a burst, and we talked to him. He was in Lambeau, he was slipping all over, some of that due to his toes, but he likes this surface at Ford Field, the AstroTurf, the field turf. It's something he played on in college, and he's a step quicker when he's on it.
2nd and 14. They'll switch it up. They'll give it to Smith. Smith breaks out. Loses the ball. I think he's down, but you get the feeling, John, things starting to implode now on the Rams defense. That one for 15 yards.
And you watch this run for the Detroit Lions. You're going to see push up front. Peterman come with the kick out. And now if you're the St. Louis Rams, you watch Calvin Johnson. Not only will he catch the football, he'll come down, throw his body in there, and make another key block. But if you're the St. Louis Rams, for the future of this season, you got to continue to play hard till the end of this game. You can't be letting people run through you, because that can have a negative effect moving forward.
They'll give to Smith again, a pickup of maybe 1. And now's a good time for the Lions to get that win. We all know what happened in the division this past week. Randy Moss traded to the Minnesota Vikings, and I thought Jim Swartz's comment was funny. I said, what do you think about that whole move? He said, well, great, we've now got an arms race in the NFC North.
They got someone to deal with. You know, they're always feel fortunate to have Calvin Johnson on their side now. Well, now they have the guy who was Calvin Johnson before Calvin Johnson, Randy Moss, in their division.
Play action, the throw, wisely thrown out of bounds, but Sean Hill has just had a spectacular game. 3 touchdowns, and he's been in control from the snap of the ball.
Like Sean Hill, we talked about sometimes just throwing it up to Calvin Johnson. You get this kind of protection from your line, you're going to find the big tight end in Pettigrew. Sometimes just get the ball to your guys underneath and let them do the work, as Nate Burleson does so effectively right there. Sean Hill having an outstanding day replacing Matthew Stafford.
3rd down and 9. Man-to-man coverage. Looked inside for Burleson. Couldn't quite get it to him. That will bring up 4th down, time to punt. Jerome Murphy on the coverage. Sean Hill talked about being so happy to be out of San Francisco. Of course, he was alluding to the implosion that came down this year, the change in offensive coordinator. Jimmy Ray fired. A lot of problems offensively. Amendola hit as he called for the fair catch to go catch the ball. At halftime, a former Detroit Lion great, Dick LeBeau, was given his formal enshrinement here in Detroit into the Hall of Fame. They gave him his ring and put his name up on the Ring of Honor here in Detroit. An outstanding player, outstanding man, currently, as many people know, defensive coordinator with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, Dick LeBeau, just an outstanding human being on top of being a great player, great coach. As we watch Bill Levy see with the penalty flag on the St. Louis Rams, nothing's going right for the Rams today. But back to Dick LeBeau, what a tremendous. I had the opportunity to go to Steelers camp earlier this year and spend some time with Dick LeBeau. 62 interceptions as a player, one of the great defensive coordinators in the history of the game, and on top of it, just an outstanding individual, and he deserves so the enshrinement into the Hall of Fame, and a great presentation here at halftime today.
You look at Dick LeBeau, and he's almost in his 80s, right? Man, looks like he's in his late 50s.
I tell you, those 3 days I was at training camp, I sat in all the defensive meetings, and Dick LeBeau was the first one there, the last one to leave. He's got all the energy he's ever had.
12 men on the field for St. Louis. They'll go back. That's the handoff to Jackson, and Jackson game tackle. Another guy in that Ring of Fame there. John, I still have nightmares about that guy.
You do.
Oh my gosh.
We used to play them twice a year.
I know.
And I joke about it. I made plenty of his car commercials. He was endorsed by Cadillac, and I used to always say, hey, Barry, let me get one of those Cadillacs. I made enough of your commercials.
At least get some residuals, right? 2nd and 8 throw. In and out of the hands of LaRon Robinson. And speaking of Barry Sanders.
No, don't do it.
You know, this is back in '97. Hey, at least you touched him. You touched him, though. You get credit for that.
Oh, you guys in the truck are going to play.
But later on in the wild card game, this is the shot you got on him. Nothing like a little payback, huh? Give him a forearm and...
Oh, boy. You made my life miserable for a long time. That was my favorite hit in all of football, because
you're not alone.
Because I swung and missed a lot.
3rd down and 8. Complete. That's Robinson, and Robinson will have the Rams first down. So 11 yards on the pickup. You know, I used to love the theories they had on how to tackle Barry Sanders. For a while, they were saying, okay, get up close to him, just break down 2-3 yards in front of him, get your feet moving. Then it became take your shot at him. You guys were famous for that one.
Well, I finally figured out late in my career that's your only chance, is to take your shot. And it helps when you had, if you noticed on that big hit, I had one guy right here, I had him in that funnel. He had nowhere to go. And, you know, one of the proudest moments of my career at the Pro Bowl, Barry, who never said anything, came over to me and said, hey, I want you to know that's the hardest I've ever been hit. And I said, really, Barry?
It made it all worth
awesome.
it. Yeah. Oh, yeah, sold-out house here in Detroit at Ford Field. They were granted the extension and sold it out really at the last minute. Let me tell you, the noise has been a factor here.
I think the fans here see the talent on this football team, but they want to start seeing wins, and they like the effort out of the Lions as well. They should.
2nd and 8 throw, middle of the field, intended for Amendola, but boy, they were going to try to thread the needle on that one. Landon Johnson, who went out of the game shaken up earlier, was in the area. Vanden Bosch in on the pressure.
You watch Landon Johnson right here. You want to talk about Tampa 2. People ask, what is it? Well, it's the middle linebacker running down the field. Landon Johnson does a great job of doing it. The other thing that reminded me of Tampa, where we perfected that Tampa 2, is the pressure up front. Vanden Bosch, Oliver Bradford. That Tampa 2 only works if you get the pressure from your front four.
3rd down and 8. Going deep, looking for Gilliard. Check that. That's Brandon Gibson working on Chris Houston. And it's incomplete. That'll bring up 4th down.
Chris Houston, who was on the coverage. really having an outstanding. You see, that bothers me. The receiver grabbing his jersey. You know darn well the offensive player, or excuse me, the defensive player had jersey like that. There's a penalty, but I guess that's the NFL we play in.
So the man who really started things off today for the Lions as far as the momentum, Stephon Logan, he's not going to be able to get to this one as it rolls out of bounds. Well, this Tuesday, catch an all-new episode of Fox's newest comedy hit, Raising Hope. Critics say it's funnier and sweeter than anything else on TV, and when it comes to Family Portrait Day, it'll be anything but picture perfect. And the creator of My Name is Earl, Raising Hope, this Tuesday after Glee on Fox. No Glee down there. That's Bradford along with Richard Curl, the quarterback's coach, talking things over. Richard Curl's been in the business forever, seems like. Just an old school guy, knows the game very well. What do you tell him, John? What do you do? The Lions hand it off. That's best.
Excuse me, that was Steve Spagnuolo over there with their young quarterback. Listen, they made an investment in this guy as their #1 pick. You've got to protect him even in a game like this. Now, they're going to let him go finish, but if I'm a head coach, I'm watching this game closely. And this is what head coaches do, the good ones at least. The game's 31-6. They want to see who's going to finish this game, who's going to continue to play hard. And those are things as a player you've got to always know. You've got to play regardless of situation. You've got to play 100%.
Time winding down here in the third quarter. A third quarter that's been all about the Lions. Screen, nice call. Should be plenty of room there for Best. Can't quite squeeze up to the first down marker. He'll be about 1.5 yards shy. And that's the end of the third quarter. The Lions 31, the Rams 6. Fox NFL Sunday will continue after a word from your local Fox station.
2011 Lexus IS. It isn't real performance unless it's wielded with precision.
We're back here to start the fourth quarter in Detroit. Movement. Both sides pointing at each other. That's not uncommon.
Ball start. Number 85, offense. 5-yard penalty, third down.
That's Scheffler, the tight end. Things started off pretty tight, 3-3 game. Then Stephon Logan got it going for the Lions. A 105-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. Then Calvin Johnson jumped into it. They finally got him on the alley-oop from 1 yard out to get the score. And since that time, John, the Lions have just taken off and run with this thing.
Yeah, and I think it was the Stephon Logan kick return that really turned this game around and put it in the Lions' control, and they haven't looked back.
And as we speak of Johnson, there's the first down, using that big body to get the first down. Bartell on the coverage, that's good for 8.
You mentioned it, Ronnie, using that big body, and it's much like we talk about Steven Jackson as a runner. How do you take it away as a corner? He's got speed. He's a 4.3 40 guy, as fast as there is in this league, but yet he's 240 pounds. He's so physical that he creates separation with strength and speed.
And the Lion is happy. Should be happy with that guy, Sean Hill, the way he's played today. Keep the tight end in the backfield. He'll lead block. Heller lead blocking for Best. Best doing his best Barry Sanders impression. Ran about 15 and maybe got one.
That looked very...
Might have lost. He actually lost one.
Excuse me, Ronnie, and you'd see Barry Sanders do that a lot. He'd lose one, lose two, go for 80. And, you know, they do have some similarities. A smaller guy, and the one thing Jim Schwartz told us, and sure enough, when he came in, it's kind of surprising. He's thicker, Javad Best, than you would think. He's 200 pounds, kind of thick, and he's got similar explosiveness. I'm not going to put him in the same category as Barry Sanders, but this guy is an explosive young player.
Best almost had a lane. Nice job of filling there by Atagwe, but a decent pickup of 7. And John, when you talk about the division, the NFC North, Green Bay begins the season as the favorite. They're still chugging along. Chicago surprises everyone with the 3-1 start, but they give it up last week. The beat down against the Giants, lose Cutler. They're getting healthy today. They're going deep He's got it. That's Calvin Johnson and a late marker. Fletcher on the coverage, and Johnson is slow to get up.
That's not a sight you want to see if you're a Detroit Lion fan, but again, outstanding job of getting the football to Calvin Johnson.
Number 32 defense. Penalties decline. Reception was made. First down.
Decline the penalty on Fletcher and take the yards.
And if you're Bradley Fletcher right here, good luck. I mean, you've got, again, we've mentioned how big he is and his ability to fight and focus on that football, the concentration, bringing it in.
Wow.
The guy is just, he's hard to stop, and that's why I'm saying, and why I make it such a big point, you've got to get the football to him. You know, it's great to surround him with the weapons, the Burlesons, the Javid Best, but this is your go-to guy. This is a difference maker, and you got to make him the focal point of your offense.
29 yards, just grabbing that shoulder. Ryan Johnson takes his place to give the Best again. That's long on the tackle.
Hey, Ronnie, back to the division. You talked about Jay Cutler getting knocked out in Chicago by the New York Giants. Do you know who the Detroit Lions play next week is the New York Giants? And you're sitting there as we look at Randy Moss, a new addition to the division, but you're sitting there as the Detroit Lions. Stafford's coming off a shoulder injury. You got Sean Hill playing as well as he is. You have your bye the following week. I sit him versus the New York Giants in that front four. Let's make sure that that shoulder is healthy. And who knows, stranger things have happened. The Lions could claw their way back into this thing and make it interesting later on in the year.
Best trying to get out of the backfield, just got back to the line of scrimmage. Tackle there by Robbins. Let's go to Los Angeles for an update.
The Atlanta Falcons love third-year defensive end Troy Bierman. Here's why. Blocks the DeLone pass, intercepts it, and then gets up and runs 31 yards for a touchdown. Nice play, huh? 20-10, Falcons lead late in the fourth quarter. Ron and Todd.
All right, Kurt, thank you very much. A pickup of one there on that last run by Best. Kevin Smith checks in as a check on Johnson. Another long play drive for the Lions. That one intended for Smith inside. He would have gotten blasted whether he caught it or not. He did get blasted.
Let's go back to this earlier catch by Calvin Johnson, but watch the end, him falling on that right shoulder. Separated right shoulders haven't been good to the Detroit Lions. Matthew Stafford, and they're checking on Calvin Johnson. He's a guy they have to have healthy, as we've well documented here today.
Johnson made the Pro Bowl as an alternate last year. He's Pro Bowl material. They just got to get him the football 48 yards out for Hanson. This guy is automatic. The Lions' all-time score. 4 field goals last week. Pounds that one through 34-6. 34-6 game. That is not good. That's Calvin Johnson with the pads off, and they are checking the. Tostin out to about the 25-yard line. They'll mark it officially at around the 24. They're wrapping and wrapping, and the Lions are wrapping up the Rams 34-6. The wrapped up shoulder of Calvin Johnson. Sean Hill has been all over it today, very efficient, moving the ball, bringing that veteran presence. 1st and 10. Movement on the left side. Now it gets a little physical. Jacob Bell pushing back and forth.
Ball start, number 63 offense. 5-yard penalty. First down.
It's on Jacob Bell.
You got to love that natural sound down on the football field. Little frustration kicking in for the St. Louis Rams as you see the pushing and shoving on both sides. Jacob Bell, I got to hand it to him. This is a guy who's been playing outstanding football for the St. Louis Rams this season. You look at Jason Brown, their center, Jacob Bell, their left guard, and their rookie left tackle, Roger Saffold. They've played at a very high level.
Bradford, the hot one across the middle. And it's incomplete, intended for Brandon Gibson. And just finishing up our discussion on the division, talking about Green Bay now. They are in a dogfight with Washington. That's a 3-point game in the fourth quarter, and Chicago up 17-6. They're trying to get healthy over Carolina.
Yeah, and this division gets interesting. Two very good football teams in Green Bay and Chicago. You cannot, particularly with the acquisition of Randy Moss, count out the Minnesota Vikings. And Detroit's going to get their first win on the board, and we'll see where they go moving forward.
Second and long, looking for the long out route to Gilliard, and Gilliard came out of there a little late. It's incomplete.
One thing that becomes very clear as you look at the St. Louis Rams, we just saw Brandon Gibson with another drop, is, you know, the loss of Mark Clayton. Ronnie, that can be just devastating to this team. He had given them such a lift, a late acquisition in training camp, and he's played such great football. And to see him go out, which looks like it's going to be for extended time, that's a tough one to swallow for these Rams.
Third and long, complete. And that's Amendola. Amendola, where do they mark it? I believe they're going to give him the first down. Before that throw, Bradford was one of his last 9. He had fallen into the tank a little bit there.
Yeah, and you talk about uncharted territory. As we discussed, he hasn't been in this situation, been behind. They had led or been tied at every halftime this year. Jim Schwartz, he painted the scenario. I want to see, can this guy play from behind? Now he thinks this guy's going to be a heck of a young quarterback, but he said, I want to put him in a situation where he's got to make plays with another team in the league.
First and 10. There's a throw inside. That's Amendola. Amendola with a career day. That's 10 catches and a tough day for Sam Bradford. Not necessarily all on him. He had some help from his friends, so to speak.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of drop balls. We've seen his best receiver, Mark Clayton, go out. One thing you always see as you watch the St. Louis Rams is consistent, great effort from Danny Amendola, who continues to catch balls deep into this game.
So he's a career high now with 11 catches. And John, you brought up a good point in the break. Do you go out now, if you're the Rams, with the trade deadline on the 19th? Do you still go out and try to get a guy like a Vincent Jackson from San Diego? And that ball tipped up and intercepted. And Ndamukong Suh, the second round pick, or second pick overall, comes up with a big play. But a marker is down.
Holding, number 76 offense. Penalty is declined. First down.
The hold there on Saffold, they will decline that. And the number 2 pick in the draft comes up with a play.
Let's watch Ndamukong Suh. If you're a lineman and you don't get there, you tip it to yourself. Ndamukong Suh, you don't think he has some motivation in this game, trying to show the Rams, hey, I know Bradford's great, but you guys should have taken me number 1. He gives himself the assist with the tip and then shows some of that athleticism that got him drafted number 2. Going to be an outstanding player, already playing at a high level. 3 sacks on the season now, his first career interception.
This is a pass, wide open, and they can't get it to him. Intended for Scheffler. And Suh coming up with his first career interception. Like you say, tip it to yourself, get the tip, and then get the pick. Came into the game leading all NFL rookies and the team in sacks. He made an interesting statement in the paper this past week. He said, I don't foresee any more losses at home. I'm going to keep that one folded up somewhere. Might have to refer back to that. That's best.
And a unit you've got to really commend on their play today is this offensive line unit from the Detroit Lions. They've thrown, as we've said, more than anybody in this league, and they've allowed just a very few amount of sacks today, just 1. These guys playing at a very high level. Jeff Backus, the left tackle. We talked to James Hall from the St. Louis Rams. He's played college football and played in the NFL with Backus, and he said he's playing at as high level as he's seen him play in a long time. But this entire offensive line playing extremely good football.
3rd and 8. Middle screen. sniffed out quickly. Nice play there by James Hall, the former Detroit Lion. Came to the Rams in a trade back in '07. That's Michigan versus Michigan there, right? Wolverine on Wolverine.
They could have used those two yesterday against the Michigan State Spartans. The Spartans beat up on the Wolverines.
Jeff Backus went to Michigan along with Hall. This is 47 yards out for Hansen. It's straight. It's got enough leg. He could have put that one through from 60. So the Lions continue to pour more on and continue to get healthy, looking for their first win of the season. A quick look at the quarterback comparison.
I'm not so sure if I'm the St. Louis Rams. I mean, you do have 7 minutes and 50 seconds left, but you've got your #1 pick. I'm not so sure I don't put A.J. Feely in the game. Let him get some valuable reps for possibly later in the year and protect Sam Bradford, because you know this front four from the Detroit Lions are coming.
This will be Tostin. Tostin tripped up, still going. Jumps out to the 25-yard line. Well, tonight on Fox, an all-new animation domination races for the pennant when skipper Mike Scioscia will guest star on The Simpsons. That's followed by The Cleveland Show, Family Guy, and American Dad. All new episodes start at 8, 7 Central tonight on Fox. So 7:44 here to play. Lions in control, 37-6. Check down to Jackson. Jackson with a catch and a first down. That's his first catch, his first reception of the day.
You got to love it again. You know, I talk about it all the time, but it's just you got to call it like you see it, the fight in this guy. They're down 37-6, and he's fighting for every yard.
They'll go away from Jackson. That ball is dropped. That's a fumble that's picked up by Jonathan Wade. And it will be Lions ball. Daniel Fells lost the handle.
Detroit Lions came into this game as the #2 team in the NFL in terms of turnovers, and they've had a couple more critical ones today. The one on Amendola down in the red zone that took points off the board, and now Daniel Fells coughing up the football to the Detroit Lions. Three turnovers for the St. Louis Rams here today.
And that play will be challenged. Steve Spagnuolo has thrown out the challenge flag to the boos here at the stadium. And for Jonathan Wade, John, that's kind of sweet because he comes from the Rams.
Challenging the ruling on the field of a catch and a fumble.
Wade, originally a third-round pick with the Rams in 2007, spent the last 3 years there, comes up with the fumble.
Let's take a look at this. See Daniel Fells.
I don't know that he ever had
And I think
possession.
that's what Steve Spagnuolo asked Bill Levy. Does he ever have possession? Is it a catch? You got to establish full control, and I think Steve Spagnuolo may well win that one. Let's see what Bill Levy's thought is down under that hood.
Well, John, that takes us back to that quote-unquote process of the catch, completing the process of the catch, because he did make a football move. That's part of the process, but I don't know that he ever had control while he made the move.
And I think that's the key. He did make the football move, but never established full control.
Boy, the Rams on a scoring skid. Since the Rams tied it up 3-3 in the first quarter, John, the Lions have gone on a 34-3 run. A 34-3 run from a team that starts this game 0-4.
Yeah, and again, it's right like they drew it up. They said, we want to strike fast. We want to get out in front early. They were able to do that with help from Stephon Logan. And now they haven't looked back. They've continued to pound it, continued to put it on the St. Louis Rams.
And a look ahead at the Lions schedule before the bye. they're going to get tested. They're going to New York to take on the G-Men. That's right here on Fox. Then they'll get their bye. After the bye, no rest for the weary. They've got the Redskins and the Jets. Good news, they're both here at home.
And I look at that one. When you've got Matt Stafford, if you saw that football game, what the New York Giants front four did to Jay Cutler, if there's any question if Matthew Stafford's healthy and you've got the way Sean Hill is playing, I think you sit him, get the bye week, get a little extra time to recover, and then you bring him back after the break.
After reviewing the play, the receiver never had possession of the ball. It's an incomplete pass. With the timer put 7:14 on the game clock, St. Louis will not be charged a timeout.
Yeah, clearly he did not have possession. Very well explained by Bill Levy.
And a good catch by Steve Spagnuolo. Again, you fight to the end in this league, and you throw your challenge even when you're down by this many points this late in the game.
And Rams fans, or Lions fans rather, are rejoicing because finally a catch review went their way. In case you're just checking us out, tuning in, and Ndamukong Suh, last possession, came up with his first career interception off of his own tip. This could go to the house. Alphonso Smith will take it there. No flags down.
Alphonso Smith, yet another trade executed by Martin Mayhew, the general manager this offseason. Was a high pick from Denver last year. Martin Mayhew sees something in him. I talked to Martin, he said they really saw him as a nickelback, but now he's moved into the starting lineup. His third pick on the season. Alphonso Smith playing some very good football for the Detroit Lions.
He was making big play after big play. Hansen puts the extra point through. Finally, defensive coordinator Gunther Cunningham replaced Jonathan Wade with Smith. Said this kid gets around the football, and this is what he was talking about.
You see Sam Bradford, very uncharacteristic. Watch Alphonso Smith. He knows they're looking at Amendola. He just cuts underneath and then takes it to the house.
That's his first career touchdown, and you mentioned John coming in and a trade in September from Denver. Played 15 games with the Broncos. They're originally a second-round pick. But one interesting thing about Smith as he gets his dance on, he's got big hands, and for a small guy, a lot of people said, where do you get the big hands from? He said, oh, I get them from my grandmother's side of the family. That's the first time I've heard a player attribute something he had physically to the grandmother, but you know what? Give due where it's due.
Alphonso Smith, actually, the Denver Broncos thought so highly of him when they drafted him in 2009. They gave up their first-round pick in this year's draft that became Earl Thomas out in Seattle.
Yeah.
Kind of convoluted chain of events, but that's now Detroit, the beneficiary of Alphonso Smith and his play.
Tostin. Boy, he's smacked at the 15-yard line. Ashley Palmer with the hit. Well, Saturday, after a memorable first-round matchup, the National League's two best teams will take the field and go head-to-head in Game 1 of the NLCS as they look to move one step closer to the World Series. Fox Sports exclusive coverage of the NLCS begins Saturday at 7:30 p.m. 4:30 Pacific in high definition. And John, some great matchups out there. We talk about the performance from Roy Halladay this past week. He was unstoppable in the no-hitter as they give to Jackson. Right now, let's go to Los Angeles for a quick update. Here's Kurt Menefee.
Things a little closer between the Packers and Skins. Graham Gano with a 45-yard field goal to tie the game with just over a minute left. It's 13-all in Washington, just outside Washington. Ron and John?
They'll give to Jackson. Jackson will have the first down, tackled by Peterson. And John, you saw that score there. You go back to the NFC North division. The Chicago Bears and Packers come into the day's action tied up at 3-1.
Washington and Mike Shanahan giving the Packers all they can handle.
There's a throw to Fells. Fells, they let him off the hook last time there. He never really had possession of the football that they reviewed. And John, you played for Mike Shanahan. Tell me a little about the mindset now and what he's tried to convey to that Redskin team up there. Last week they went up to Philadelphia and had a big win.
Yeah, and Mike Shanahan's, as we watch Bradford go back to pass to Amendola down the seam. But Mike Shanahan, believe me, he wants to win this year, but he's also trying to change the culture of that place to make it a winning place for years to come. And so sometimes even, the immediate success might not be as important as him changing a culture and the way they do things in Washington.
An injured Lion on the field.
That's Cliff Averill down, and that's just cramps. He's played hard here today, and whenever trainers are stretching those calves and massaging them, there's no worse feeling. I think everyone's experienced that. Those calves lock up on you, and there's nothing you can do. But that's a, I think that's a sign of a well-fought effort by Cliff Averill all day long. He's put Sam Bradford under duress throughout the course of the game. Here's Cliff Averill working against Jason Smith, the right tackle for St. Louis. He goes for the vertical, and those calves lock up on him in midair. I'm only laughing because I've been there.
You've been there, yeah. Everything stops when you cramp up. Now, we were talking about the Lions schedule. We flip it over and talk about the Rams schedule. Next week, they'll have San Diego. And then they'll go to Tampa Bay. And my guess is that Tampa Bay will be jonesing real hard for a win down there and be ready for that one. Then they'll have Carolina at home, then the bye.
Yeah, well, clearly their toughest test next week. I mean, the San Diego Chargers, good football team, playing at a high level right now. And Steve Spagnuolo's got to get this team back to St. Louis, finish this game, then regroup and go back to all the things they've done well, what happened in this game, and try to turn that around in short order as they take on the San Diego Chargers.
The last matchup between these two teams, November 1st last year, 17-10 win by the Rams. Steven Jackson ended up being the difference late in the game. But they were able to pretty much take Jackson out of the game early by virtue of what went on in the beginning of the game with the onside kick that didn't work and worked in the Lions' favor. They got the ball, and from that point on, the Lions really never looked back.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. They took Steven Jackson out, not by with a play. Steven Jackson was very productive, but they took him out by virtue of jumping out ahead early, and I keep going back to it, but that's what Jim Schwartz said. Let's get ahead on these guys, take Steven Jackson out of the game, put it on their young quarterback and see if he can beat us. And clearly Sam Bradford hasn't been able to do that.
Boy, and Cliff Averill is cramping so bad that he can't even get off the field. And he can't get off the field because his legs won't work.
He needs to go just put that IV in him right now.
Well, you remember those days, John?
Oh.
Coming back on the plane, the doctor would actually give you the IV as the plane's taking off.
And again, you know, the reason that they're feeding him fluids is he's cramping. The trainer's laughing, but there's nothing funny about it when you're going through it.
You know,
Cliff's telling all his teammates, you guys all laugh all you want.
You don't.
You don't. He will get a hard time for being taken off on a cart for cramps. You don't know how many nights, though, you go home and you don't take that IV and you wish you had, because you start cramping in the middle of the night. There's nothing worse. But Cliff Averill, you get a well-earned cart ride for that IV. He played his heart out as he has each and every week for the Detroit Lions.
Ron Pitts, John Lynch, we're wrapping this one up. 44.
I'm cramping.
You're cramping. Get out here, get some fluid here.
Working hard up here.
Here, take that.
All right.
Hold that. The Lions pouring 44 here on the St. Louis Rams. And I tell you, John, you keep talking about the special teams, and that's where it all started. The onside kick gave the Lions a momentum. They got it. They got good field position, and they took off.
And then it was Stephon Logan with the 105-yard kickoff return.
right.
That added to it. That really changed the momentum of this game. And then the difference has really been in the red zone. The St. Louis Rams, who came in so productive in the red zone as an offense, and conversely on the defense, so stingy in the red zone. The Detroit Lions have owned the red zone, and consequently you have a 44-6 game, the Lions.
Second and 10, Jackson. Jackson with a huge hole. The Lions playing pass with this big of a lead. And John, it's not like the onside kick led to 7. Okay, the Lions got 3 out of it, but it was the confidence. And we talked about in our open, the Lions still had the confidence, and they were looking for more of it early. Looked like a hold there on Vanden Bosch, but it's complete outside Amendola.
It will be interesting to hear Steve Spagnuolo after the game address that. Typically, as I mentioned at the time, there's something you've seen on film. Well, obviously the Detroit Lions adjusted, but maybe part of it was you've got an 0-4 team that's desperate. If you can put that dagger that early, you've got to. But I think with the way his team's been playing, they've been playing solid football. Just kick the ball off and get off to a good start. Really easy to look at it that way in hindsight, but that's a move that will be questioned, to be sure.
That one a little high and incomplete. Intended for Amendola. And the 2 special teams plays. First play of the game, watch Josh Brown. Oops, I'm not going deep. But a great job there by Amari Spivey. And this is Logan. Stephon Logan, 105-yard kickoff return, the longest play in the NFL this year.
Some poor tackling by the Rams, obviously, on that situation. But that's translated not only on special teams onto the field. The St. Louis Rams didn't tackle well as a defense, which is uncharacteristic for them.
Jackson has already gone over the 100-yard mark on 25 carries. That's his 25th carry.
I guess, excuse me, Ronnie, the good news for the Rams is you see Steven Jackson. He told us he came out of the game last week against Seattle where he was very questionable with the groin, actually better than when he went in, and it clearly looks like that groin's feeling a lot better for him.
That one intended for Amendola. Well, what does Steve Spagnuolo tell his team on Monday morning? What do you talk about?
Well, I've seen people, coaches take a couple different looks at a game like this. Some burn the film, said we aren't watching it. I think it's always best, even in a game like this, to go back and watch it and point out, fellas, I know it was 44-6, but here's where the game swung. You can point out the importance of special teams from the starting play to that kickoff return. You can talk about the things they didn't do well on defense, and it's got to be a quick turnaround as they have the Chargers coming in next week.
A nice catch there by Gilliard. He's hit immediately by Smith. They're going to mark it shy of the first down.
And yes, a loss like this hurts, but I think that the most devastating thing for the Rams coming out of this is the loss of Mark Clayton. We had seen how productive he's been for this team, and it looks like it's going to be extended time that he's out. It's just a big, big loss for the Rams, and it's going to be hard for them to overcome that.
Third and 5 draw to Darby. Darby denied. So that's going to set up a 4th down. And about 5 or 6 to go. Officially, they'll see where they mark it. They'll call it 4. Yeah, John, you bring up a great point about Clayton now. The Rams are already very thin at wide receiver. Clayton just kind of dropped out of the sky for them on the trade. They've been doing it with smoke and mirrors on the perimeter. 4th and 4. And that pretty much sums up the day for the Rams. In and out of the hands of Brandon Gibson. It'll be a turnover on downs. Flip it over to the other side, John. Now, if you're Jim Schwartz, You go in and you finally gotten your first win in week 5. What do you tell the team?
I tell them outstanding effort, fellas. We laid out a game plan. You executed it to perfection. This is what we're capable of when we play within ourselves, when we execute. Let's go do this each and every week. We've got to have a great effort versus the Giants. They play like this, they can go places.
That's Drew Stanton. He'll get the call the rest of the way as they pat Hill on the back and give him the rest. Smith inside. And quite a day for Shaun Hill. You look at his numbers, 21 of 32, 227, 3 touchdowns. Guy has been just rock solid.
He has been, and I go back to, you know, of all the acquisitions, you talk about Vanden Bosch, you talk about Ndamukong Suh drafting him, Alphonso Smith we touched on. This was a great acquisition to go get someone in the event that Matthew Stafford were to go out that could win you some football games. And you know, it didn't look good early when they were 0-4, but this guy's played solid football.
Boy, when you're up big, everything works. That's the backdoor throw on the bootleg out to Tony Scheffler, the first completion of the day for Stanton as Stafford looks on. And Shaun Hill was so happy to get out of San Francisco. Remember, in 06, he was named the starter by default in an absolutely chaotic year. Mike Nolan was fired. Mike Singletary took over. Alex Smith was on IR. JT O'Sullivan couldn't get it done. They said maybe this guy can play. And Shaun Hill, they were right, he can play. That was the 2-minute warning, 44-6 Lions. Lions looking for their first win of the season and the largest win since 1995. They scored 44 points against Jacksonville, 44-zip that day. The producer of today's game is P.T. Navarro, and the director is Peter Bleckner. The associate director is Brian Biederman. The broadcast associate is Brady Ricci. The studio show is produced by Scott Ackerson and directed by Bob Levy. The associate director is Stephanie Medina. The highlights coordinator is Janice Kasasha. The studio technical supervisor is Jack Simmons. I want to say thanks to my statisticians Matt Schmidt-Smith and my spotter Seth Jacobson. And that should be just about it. Winding down here, 44-6.
You look at the two perspectives coming out of a game like this. We talked about a desperate team in the Detroit Lions, desperate for a win. They went out there, executed the game plan, got that win. You talked about a team in the St. Louis Rams trying to validate their success for the last couple weeks. Now, are you able to shake this blowout loss off and face the Chargers next week? It's going to be interesting to watch.
Stanton with what should be the final knee. And that's how it will end here in Detroit. The Lions will get the first win of the season, 44-6 over the Rams. The Lions will move to 1-4. The Rams 2-3. We'll be back here to Detroit to wrap things up right after this.